If you are not using AI coding assistants to write code, I'm going to be real with you. You are running out of time. Watch this. We're going to run a single prompt to generate the beginning of an entire code base. So with one command, with a sentence and a half, we've generated 70 lines of code. And let's go ahead and run this to make sure it's real, right? This is a bun TypeScript application. I asked for docs, I asked for clean documentation. I'll run bun index, and you can see there we got users docs. I'll run bun index view. You can see this file doesn't exist. Let's go ahead and make sure that it doesn't bomb when the file doesn't exist. So I'll just highlight, run another prompt. Don't bomb when file doesn't exist. Let that run. It's going to add the existence check. It's going to run through every single line. I'll accept, run this again. No error this time. Let's go ahead and add an item. If we check that API via our docs, we can just say add, and then we pass in a link. So let's go ahead and add a link to add a new resource. Imagine we're building at a small tool that allows us to store AI resources. Maybe we'll read them into an LLM, add, and then we'll pass in some link. We'll use the Aider website URL. We'll hit add, and then we've just added resource with ID 1. Let's go ahead and run our view command again. And you can see we have Aider in there. Let's go ahead and add another link. We'll add bun. And let's go ahead and add cursor since we're at it. Okay, and then we'll run our view command again. And we now have our 3 resources. Great. So if you've used AI coding assistants before, you already know what's going on here. You already know the power of AI coding assistants. You already know how much they can multiply productivity. In this video, I want to share and show off some of my favorite AI coding assistant features. I'm going to give you a couple tips and tricks on how you can get started and to progress your AI coding abilities. And then at the end, I want to look over some of the incredible blogs that the Cursor Bros and Aider are working on. So Aider, shout out Paul, and Cursor, shout out the AnySphere team. You guys are building great products. These 2 products are by far right now the best AI coding assistants. We've talked about them on the channel before. It's important to bring up every now and then because the space is rapidly evolving. Let's go ahead and just backtrack a little bit, right? What just happened? So we ran 2 prompts, generated 70 lines of code. I just want to control Z this a little bit, and I want to look at the actual multiplier that we just unlocked by using an AI coding assistant, right? I'll just control Z all the way back. I'm going to copy the prompt that we use, and I'm just going to go ahead and open up a node instance, paste this in as a string and type length. So you can see there that was 125 characters. Now let's go ahead and split it. And what we're looking at here is the number of words that we use to generate 25 words to generate. What exactly did we generate? Let's go ahead and look at that first generation here. You can see I have a word count enabled here. This 25 word prompt generated 208 words. So if we take that, let's just go ahead and do some rounding, right? We'll round down. So 200 over 25, that's an 8x multiplier. This is incredible, right? I just want to really shout out how important this is. It's very rare that you end up in a scenario where you can directly analyze your productivity gains as an engineer by using a tool. I think that when you look at AI coding assistants and you look at what you can do with them, it's blatantly obvious how much you can get out of your AI coding tool, right? It's just so easy to measure the productivity gain. 8x, right? We had another prompt in there. Let's say we had a couple more, round it down, right? Let's say it's only a 5x. That's still insane. It's still incredible. And most importantly, I think one of the big highlights of AI coding assistants is you're not wasting your mental cycles on the boilerplate code, right? You're just not wasting it. Let me go ahead and show off another feature that I'm really excited about with AI coding assistants, the ability to update multiple files. So let's go ahead and switch over to Aider, the best free open source AI coding assistant. What I'm going to do here is create another file. I'm going to call it CRUD.ts, and I'm going to open up another browser instance and run aiderb. This is my Aider shorthand command to kick off one of Aider's brand new features. You can now run Aider in the browser. So this wrapper makes Aider a lot more pleasant to work with. So let's go ahead and just look at this. Let's go ahead and add some files. So I'll add, see if that CRUD file didn't get picked up. So let me go ahead and just commit my code here so Aider can pick up that file. Go ahead and run that. refresh, and I'll go ahead and add that CRUD file, and I'll add index.ts. You can see here with this nice clean UI, it's very visible, it's very easy to digest. I've just added 2 files to the context. I like Aider in that it's a lot more explicit than Cursor. You really know exactly what Aider is looking at. And then I'll just type move the resource functions from index.ts into crud.ts and let it rip. Huge shout out to GPT-4o. OpenAI really popped off with that model. It's been incredible to work with. Look at how fast this is at GPT-4 level with GPT 3.5 speeds. Pretty crazy stuff. Let's go ahead and check out those edits. And so you can see here, we now have our crud.ts, and we also have our index.ts. You can see here, we're now operating with just some 30 lines. We have that, CLI functionality. And then we have our import for the crud.ts app, right? Let's go ahead and just run this again, make sure everything works the same. So bun index view, and bam. So you can see here, we have our same files. Everything's working as previous. Let's go ahead and remove, delete, and we'll say 2. So resource ID 2 deleted. That should take out the bun resource. And if we run view again, bam, we have 1 and 3, Aider and Cursor. So really incredible stuff, right? Multi-file edits is a huge, huge advantage. This is something that I would like to see Cursor bring to the table. I know they're working on a lot of really important, cool features, but I think multi-file editing is a huge, huge win. Again, big shout out to Aider and Paul for having this feature. And I've really been enjoying using the browser editor here for Aider. It just makes it a lot easier, cleaner to work with. You can more quickly add and remove files. On the channel, we've been using AI coding assistants for over a year now, which is really, really crazy to say. The space is really exciting. This is the tool you need to be paying attention to if you're an engineer. Our productivity as engineers is directly tied to the ability and the strength of our tools. You can be a shitty engineer with great tools and get a lot done. But if you're a great engineer and you have shitty tools, you are limited by your tools. You want to be a great engineer and you want to have great tools. AI coding assistants, AI code editors, these tools are where we need to be focusing our time and attention to right now. There is no bigger multiplier on your productivity than to increase your ability to generate more code in ranges in the 2 to 10x range. You do not want to miss the AI coding train and get left behind. So that's awesome. We can push this even further. Let me just show off a quick example. Let's say we wanted to create a test. We'll call this crud.test.ts. And again, for that multi-file capability, what we're going to do here is open up Aider in the browser, and we're going to, let me go ahead and just commit this again. And what we'll do is refresh, CRUD test, index, and I'll do the following, right? I'll say add a new function, delete all, and add bun tests for the CRUD module. So I'm asking to do 2 things in one here. Usually you'd want to go one at a time, add this delete all, and then afterward add bun tests, but I'm doing it together just because I know that this will work. So I'm going to fire that off, and Aider is going to start making changes to multiple files, getting all this work done for us. We type 1 sentence, it's writing a bunch of code in the right places for us automatically. It's so cool to see this come out. And you can see here, edits applied. So it looks like we're not actually using delete all resources. So I'll just go ahead and say, I'll hop back over to Aider and just say, create a CLI command to run delete all resources, let that run. And so okay, so nice, it added that so quickly. So I notice here it didn't add that delete all. We'll just go ahead and highlight over this. You can see we have Copilot++ doing some work for us. Delete all, it's adding that into the logging for us. I'll just hit tab, that's awesome, that's complete. Let's go ahead and take a look at the test. You can see here we're using jest. I don't want to use jest here, so let's go ahead and just use Cursor for this. I'll just say remove jest, and I'll also say don't mock anything. I'm fine with this just running against my local file system. Just going to make all the changes for us here. We're going to ignore this. We do have bun automatically importing. This is just a problem with my linter that I don't care about. And we can run bun test. You can see everything completed properly. Let's go ahead and bomb a test on purpose. So let's change this to a 5 just to make sure that this is real. And bam, you can see there we got 1 failed test. Revert and bun test. Good. So we're all good. We wrote tests. We modularized our CRUD functionality. We added a new delete all resources function. and we exposed that via our CLI application. All this happened in a hilariously small amount of time. We are rearranging code at light speeds thanks to our 2 AI coding assistants. I'm going to go ahead and say it. These are the 2 best AI coding assistants right now. A lot of the AI engineering, the AI coding, and the agentic engineering content that we share on the channel gets lost in time to the YouTube algorithm. I mentioned this in the previous video, but I'm working on a resource, a website that'll be free, that will allow us to, kind of build up this repository of incredible AI tools, AI resources, and of course, some of the most important content on there is going to be AI coding, because that is the first really big use case for engineering productivity gains in the age of LLMs, in the age of AI. So those are a couple features I wanted to call out. So I hope you see the value in this. If you've been using AI coding assistants, AI code editors, AI paired programming, everyone has their slightly own different terminology for it. In my mind, it's all the same. These are AI coding assistants. They help you, the engineer, write more code faster than ever. If you're using these yourself or you're going to start, thanks to this video, hit the like, hit the sub. It helps other engineers get exposure to these incredible tools as well. One last thing I want to do in this video, I want to look at where the cursor bros and where Aider are kind of hinting at what's coming next, right? So let's go ahead and just look at this previous blog that came out from the Cursor team. And they're talking about the problems that they're aiming to solve in 2024, 2025, right? And I think it really shows where their head's at and what they see coming next. I love this idea of next action prediction. This is when you're in Cursor, you're writing code, and it's basically Copilot++. It's this idea that once you start coding something and you start making tweaks, there's a flow to it, right? There's a path, there's a pattern to it. And just by hitting tab, just by knowing the most likely case, the most likely position of the cursor, you can essentially guess what we want to do next, right? And let me show you a concrete example of this. If I started making a change here, right? Let's go ahead and say I want to suffix this, right? And I said read resources method for whatever reason. Cursor in Copilot++ will start looking ahead and gathering context about what's the next move he would likely want to make given that change. So if I just highlight the next method and hit tab, it's starting to pick up on the trend, right? Method, and now it's updating the method call inside here, right? And now it's looking at the next method, and now it's auto-completing both the function name and the caller, right? So you can see how incredible this is, right? I'm not wasting mental cycles on this stuff. My AI coding assistant is doing it for me, right? And that's the incredible part. Your AI coding assistant right now can handle all the boilerplate. It can handle all the, weird small name changes, variable placements, all this stuff like that. That's where you should be really confident in using AI coding assistants, right? So I just want to shout that out. And again, I want to shout out the Cursor team. Great work on all this stuff. Please keep pushing this. This is incredible. It's been great using that. So this is really cool. I'm excited to where they take this. I do think this is the right question to ask. Can we take this idea to its natural limit? There is no reason why a natural logical flow of tab completion like this cannot be solved completely. And I think, Cursor's right on track to do that because they have the full editor at their disposal. Pretty incredible stuff there. They talk about some of the ways they're doing that. I'll leave that up to you to read. I'll link these in the description, of course. Perfect edits. This is something that I think will come and get kind of close. My philosophy around, models and AI and predictions, you'll never get 100%, but you should try to get as close as possible. I think the real trick here is, can they make it fast and keep it accurate, right? They mentioned multi-file edits here. This is a great call out. I'm glad that they are, taking note of this. I'm sure that they, picked this up from Aider. Aider does support out of the box multi-file edits, which is amazing. You saw us, we did a couple of those here. We have 3 files that edited all 3 in one shot. So that was pretty incredible. It would be awesome to have that rolled into Cursor as well. It's great to see them looking at that. Optimal context. If you're a fan of the channel, you know that I am very anti-RAG. I don't think that retrieval augmented generation is worth anyone's time outside of like brute force pulling in relevant files and throwing it into the context. I think that this is betting against the development of the next incredible generation models, which is a dumb thing to bet against. Take whatever context you need, throw it at the model, and let the model handle the hard part of it, right? And just make sure that your prompt is solid. I think that tools like Cursor do have a slightly larger use case for large contexts and for some type of RAG-based solution. I hope that both them, but also everyone building out these agentic pipelines. I hope that you don't get too lost in this sauce. Context windows will go up. Needle in the haystack accuracy will continue to increase. One last thing here on Cursor's blog, and then we'll hop over to a blog from Aider that I just want to highlight. They're looking at bug detection. I think this is a really cool idea. I think the question is, when do they fire this off? Do they fire it off while you're writing code? Do they fire it off, during the commit process, during the PR process, during the push process? A lot of interesting questions there for automatic bug detection. I think this could be a really, really killer use case. Since Cursor, again, is operating right in an IDE, they have a lot of power and control. It's a massive advantage. Whereas something like Aider is a lot more lightweight. It's in the terminal. It can read your code base. It doesn't. It uses something called a repo map. And I think it's a nice kind of lightweight, hands-off approach. I like how these tools are different. I think they actually complement each other. I think that Cursor is like your deep dive coding interface, whereas Aider doesn't want to make too many assumptions about your code base, and it kind of stays on that like lighter wrapper layer. We'll see how this progresses. Let's go ahead and just look at a quick blog from Aider. Aider has taken the state of the art on the SWE bench Lite. I think this is really, really cool. It beat out, I think, Open Devin and what was the other one? Yeah, Open Devin. Beat out Amazon's agent, which is really epic. And I love this, just like we were talking about, Aider aims to be interactive, not fully agentic. This is a differentiated approach that Aider is taking. Cursor is going a little deeper. I do think that this serves as a great differentiator for both Cursor and Aider, being agentic versus staying lightweight. Just use the prompt, put it on the code base. And because things get really, really complicated once you start digging your hands into, making assumptions about the best agentic flows and the best agentic pipelines to set up. I love this shout out again from Paul and Aider. Aider does not use RAG vector search or tools or anything like that, right? And I do think, again, this is an advantage. It might seem like a disadvantage. I think over the long term, we'll see other tools fill that space. But the fact that Aider is such a lightweight wrapper that can still do so much, I think speaks a lot to its design, but also, the power of large language models. And I do think a tool like Aider will benefit the most from the continued improvements from models, because it's not digging its hands too deeply into the agentics of it all. So that's awesome to see. And I think this is the coolest thing. So I want to end on this note. Aider has written 7% of its own code. When I saw this, I got so excited because to me, this is the future of engineering. I'm working on several code bases right now where this number is much, much higher. This is more close to 50% now. I'm putting out so much more content, so much more value as an engineer by handing off the writing the code, the individual lines, to my AI coding assistant. And I think this speaks to this idea of you want to be up-leveling yourself. You want to be telling your AI coding assistant, your AI pair programmer, what to do, and you let it figure out how to do it. LLMs are text generation machines. Let them do that. That's what they know. That's what they can do. Code is a subdomain of text, and LLMs know text better than any human being in the past ever. On the channel, we are basically spending all of our time to send this number to 99%. It might sound really crazy, but this is really what we're going for. This is what we're aiming for. We want to take this number and go to 99%. Let's just go ahead and hop in here and just, fill in the dream that we're aiming for here, right? We want 99%. The end game really is full agentic tools, applications, workflows that create value on our behalf while we sleep. I've said it on the channel over and over, and I will continue to say it because that is our mission. That's what we're doing. That's what we're aiming for. And AI coding assistants like Cursor and Aider, big shout out to them. Not sponsored by either of these guys yet. Definitely would love to be, would love to work with either Cursor and or Aider. There's a lot happening here. It's progressing, and I think this is a really important tool if you're an engineer right now. You do not want to get left behind. You want to be on the AI coding train. You want to be using these tools to generate more value than ever before. If you want to stay plugged in and you want to stay close to AI coding and agentic engineering, hit the like, hit the sub, join the journey. As I mentioned, I'm working really hard on a resource that will take everything that we do on the channel and make it more accessible, more usable, with concrete guides and some really interesting AI coding related courses that you're going to be able to use, sign up for, and really understand how to maximize this technology to create value for yourself. So if you're interested in that, you know what to do. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.